Hey, Michelle, are you ready to go?
Ready to go, Yvonne. So glad to be here with you to talk about this today.
Awesome. I am so delighted as well. And our conversation is going to be about how employee motivation helps businesses succeed. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am Yvonne A. Jones. I'm a personal business coach and customer relations specialist, and I specialize in working with mature female entrepreneurs and professionals to help them increase their profit, make an impact, and have fun in their business. Because if we are self employed and we're not having fun in our business, what's the point? And they do this through my profitable relationship building framework. Now, today I'm joined by Michelle Aubin. Michelle develops high performing teams with less stress and burnout for small businesses and nonprofits. Welcome, Michelle.
Thanks, Yvonne. Great.
All right. So, Michelle, you're going to go first because I'm really anxious to hear about that tool that you have that can help managers. So, let's take the lead on this discussion and then we will just have a back and forth discussion as to if I need any clarity on anything. And if I think that this can help our listeners to gain more clarity, then I will ask a question. Sounds good?
Sounds great. Yes, and we spoke a little bit the other day, and we both help businesses tap into employee motivation in different ways. So that is what intrigued me, and why I like coming on here and to share this information with your listeners, just to see how we both approach this. But just to start with this title of how this can help your business success, it's kind of common sense. We all think about how employees are the face of your business, and if they're motivated and have the same goals that you do as a business owner, your business will succeed.
Mhm.
They will have the passion to help your business succeed because they're invested in it. But so often it can be frustrating when staff seem to be demotivated, or they're coming in and they're just filling a seat, and it can be hard to know why. And so what I help managers and supervisors do is make the shift from being a micromanager and sort of in that bossy boss mindset, which is very demotivating for employees. And a lot of research has been done on that, that people don't like to be controlled in how they achieve the goals for the business. Uh, so when you make that shift from micromanager to a coach manager, then what you're doing is you can tap into the employee's inner motivation. So instead of being motivated by you telling them what to do and telling them what the goals are, if you can help tap into their inner motivation, why did they choose to work where they're working? What are they getting out of it? What's their vision? So these are ways to tap into the inner motivation of your employees or your staff, as opposed to just punching a clock, leaving, punching in, punching out, and just, hopefully they're not doing that. Hopefully they have as much of a vision as you do.
That is awesome. I really appreciate the distinction you made there, Michelle. And for me, coming from a customer service and a customer experience point of view, um, I'm in total agreement with what you said. And the perspective from which I view it is for companies, managers to think of their employees, their staff as external customers. Because just about every company understands the importance of delivering exceptional customer service and creating memorable experiences that are based on how the customer feels, not how we feel or the company that's providing the service, but how the customer feels at the end of the interaction. So, what if the same way you want this for your external customers, the people who buy from you, what if you have this same attitude toward your internal customers? Those were the employees who actually use the products and the services to provide for the external customers. The employees who have to relate to other departments. For example, someone in accounts might rely on IT. They are each other's customer. And if managers can accept that, as you were saying earlier about not being bossy and all of that, but sort of embrace that we're all working towards the same goal, then how do you think that might affect the relationship, Michelle?
It's excellent. It's such a great point that when I heard you mention that idea of treating your employees as internal customers, my mind was kind of there was a pop in there because it's such a creative, innovative way to frame it. And it, people that have experience in customer service know exactly what you're talking about. The leaving the customer with an exceptional experience. Um, on my end, when I've taught people and done coaching sessions with clients around this, I sometimes I come from the I'm going to back up and say I come from the assumption that everyone as a manager and a supervisor is doing their best with the tools they have and with the experiences they've had with other bosses and with other authority figures. But oftentimes it's not enough to get to that place that you're talking about. And it's no fault of the manager per se, just
Mhm.
because you have not been exposed maybe to some of the tools that are available to you to get to that place. It's kind of it's exceptional to say, I'm going to create an environment on my team where all the staff have a memorable positive experience the way they would with a customer. And when I've done trainings with people, I talk about psychological safety. I just did a training today on that for some folks, and the elements that go into creating the feeling when you walk into your workplace that you are relaxed, you can trust your coworkers, you aren't afraid of making mistakes, you can seek feedback instead of just sort of bracing against criticism. So, uh, a lot of times, staff people have had negative experiences with other workplaces. But if you're the kind of manager that wants to create that calm, safe environment, there are things you can do. There are strategies you can put into place. But that I want to introduce, maybe today's not the day to go that deep into it, but I just want to introduce that idea of creating psychological safety, and learning about that as a manager can go a long way towards creating that feeling.
Yeah, I heard you mention feeling, safety, trust. That's what people crave. Um, People always wanted those things, but it just seems that now more than ever, people want to know that they're more skeptical. We live in a world where people are more skeptical at all levels. They're not sure who to trust. And
Yeah.
so in the workplace, as you just said, Michelle, if managers can help to build that level of trust so people feel safe when they work rather than feeling like I'm, you know, I'm entering a battleground. What a difference. And I can relate to that. I remember my very first last job that sort of was the catalyst for my moving from corporate America and starting my own business. It was a desire that I'd had for years, and I actually had started moving towards that. But it pushed me earlier because I got to the point where I always kind of visualize it, Michelle, as if there was a bridge that I had to go over before I got to work. And it was that my car started going slower, it was started moving slowly once I got to that bridge because I'm anticipating what sort of environment I'm going to be facing that day. Nobody is happy in such an environment. You have to
No.
spend 8 hours there, sometimes more. So knowing that you're in an environment where you feel like you feel safe, as you said. I love
Yeah.
that word. You feel safe.
Yeah.
You feel that you have a supervisor, a manager who cares, who you can speak with, who values you just the same way they value the external customers. Yeah, that makes such a difference to me. You there is it's like you're joyful about going to work. You can walk in briskly because it's like this is a place where I want to be instead of oh God, I have to go to work today.
It's
Have you
also
seen that? Have you heard that?
oh, yes, and I mean, I think we've all had the experience of now the word toxic environment gets used a lot, which is relatively new idea, but it does capture that feeling that on my way to work, I'm already bracing before I walk in the door. And if you're a business owner, then that's going to impact your business. And uh, I'm I don't want to make anyone listening to this feel bad if that's the case, where you're kind of sensing that people aren't fully engaged. It isn't that you're necessarily doing anything wrong. It just may be that there's opportunities for you to have greater awareness of what's possible for your team. And it doesn't even always come from the manager. It can come from a coworker who is that negative person that can just kind of make everyone feel a little tense.
Oh
And so
yeah.
there are strategies to employ to create a turnaround for that, you know. Yeah. And as a result, Yvonne, you left. You said it, you left earlier than you might have, but you don't want to lose good employees if you're a business owner. You want to be able to have them look forward when they cross that bridge. Oh yeah, I get to go to work today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't matter how, and as you rightly said, we're not here bashing any managers or anything,
No.
but you mentioned the word awareness. It's just helping to create more awareness. And Michelle, I was reading is in fact I have it right here. It's a book by Micah Solomon, who's one of the customer service and customer experience experts. I love the book. It's the title of it is Ignore Your Customers and They'll Go Away.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
so the point about it is that in an organization, in any organization, they depend on their customers. Customers are the lifeblood of the organization. And the thing about what we're really getting at is that employees who are happy in their jobs and feel valued are more likely, and they're motivated because that was in the theme of our discussion. They're more likely to provide excellent service and provide a positive customer experience to the company's customers, the external customers. And it's not just theory, because, there was a study by Gallup that showed that engaged employees who feel valued and supported by their organization are more likely to provide better customer service, resulting in higher customer satisfaction and loyalty. So you just mentioned about the loyalty of the employee, and we want the loyalty of the
Yeah.
customer because together they help the business to grow.
How do you see that a leader can help um, people feel that way, the way treating them like you're saying like an internal customer? What is the approach you recommend to people to do that?
Well, there's so many different areas, but just let's think about just one of them. A manager, or for a small business, maybe the business owner can provide, first of all, provide a space where the employee feels welcome. The employee feels, we've all heard about the open door policy, but the employee feels like they can talk to that manager, they can express themselves. So they're heard. So it doesn't have to be a complaint, because a lot of times the people on the floor, I spent 16 years with an international company, one of my first jobs. And this was a manufacturing company. And there were times when people who were actually on the floor could see things that were happening that upper management might have overlooked because they were using the tools, right?
Right.
So providing the space where they feel that they can safely say, this is what we're doing. This is what, based on what is happening, can reduce downtime. And the same for any other type of business. But the employee feels safe, they're more engaged when they know they're heard, just the same way our external customers who use our products and our services, we want feedback from them. And when we get this feedback, we want them to know if we are going to be implementing it. Sometimes we ignore it because it's not really conducive to what we our ultimate goal. But when you accept the recommendation, you analyze it, accept it, let your customers know. They will be more invested in seeing that not only in using your product or services, but they will also tell others about you. So, the same way when we have engaged employees, employees who see that you value them, you respect them, they will be more, and you listen to what their suggestions, you see the wisdom in it because you've analyzed it. Then imagine how their level of job satisfaction will increase, and also their retention. You mentioned that do we want to keep, or companies want to keep their employees because it costs a lot when one person leaves and they have to replace them. Not to mention the pressure it puts on the manager, the business owner, and any other employees.
I think that's great. This idea of feedback, that just like you would get from your customer, you can get from your team. And when I teach about psychological safety and when I teach about a coaching approach
Mm-hmm.
to being a supervisor or manager, it involves that very concept of a two-way communication. So it's a relationship building approach.
Mm-hmm.
And as the manager, opening that level of trust where people, or establishing that level of trust where people learn that it's okay to come to you with problems. That's feedback that you can use to improve your team, if,
Mm-hmm.
wherever the problems are. uh, and a lot of times managers have maybe what would be called like difficult um, staff members, difficulties with certain people. Some of those problems will disappear on their own when you develop that trust and when they can give feedback, and they are able to tell you what's really going on. Not all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some of them, maybe it's not a good fit for the organization, but a lot of issues can be resolved when there is a relaxed feedback learning approach, a learning culture. And by modeling that for them, you are also communicating that that's going to be part of your feedback with them. You're modeling that they can give you feedback and it's okay. They can tell you things
Mm-hmm.
that are challenging and it's okay. A lot of people don't grow up with that. I mean, I remember my schooling was not that way, and relearning a new way of interacting with authority figures, and that in a organization that values truth and openness and trust. If people didn't have that, then there's a little bit of a learning curve where you as the manager can be it can be a can create a huge shift in their experience of working life.
Yes. And can I just ask, just Michelle, just for a little clarity on that,
Hmm.
how would you suggest, or how do you recommend that a manager who, and we hope that the manager is also a leader because there's a difference.
Yeah.
So, how do you suggest that a manager now transitions or incorporates, it's not really transitioning, but incorporates the role of a coach in his or her dealings with employees? How could they do that effectively?
So it's a I recommend all direct reports have weekly meetings. It depends on the job. It depends on, some people it might be a half hour, some people an hour, depending on the role of the person you're supervising. But having a structured time, and especially in the beginning, that you see it as relationship building. So
Hmm.
if this is a new thing that new to you, or new to, if you're coming into a team and you're the new person and they haven't done this before, or they haven't done it with you, your focus in the beginning is just to build relationship and listen and show that you have emotional intelligence, that you are open to hearing whatever problems they're facing. So
Hmm.
this factors into feedback and performance, because let's say someone didn't meet their goal for that week, or didn't achieve something they were going to achieve, they told you they were going to work on, and it didn't happen. So then a coach approach would be, let's talk about what got in the way, and let's problem solve on how to make it work going
Hmm.
forward, as opposed to making the person wrong or a failure, or all of those other things. So it's a solution focused, and it's what got in the way, and let's find another way to do better. It could be a system that needs to be changed. It could be something in that employee that they didn't understand the priority. But a coach approach is to find out, sort of diagnose with the staff member. And because you're doing it with them, you're not doing it to them,
Hmm.
that taps into their inner motivation.
Thank you. That's a great
Yeah.
answer. I appreciate that. And I like what you said about it being solution focused. And when it's approached from the way you showed it, instead of said, oh, well, you need to practice better time management and so on and so forth, where the employee ends up feeling demoralized.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say, you're really lifting them. With that kind of approach, they're feeling that even though they could do better, you're not making them feel bad, small, but they're
Yes.
also encouraged to be to do better next time with that sort of attitude, because
Yes.
it's also tapping into their inner person, because we all know that motivation has to come from within. There are external factors like salaries and so on and so forth that can influence motivation, but true motivation to do our best has to come from within. And based on what you just said, this is another area. You had asked me earlier about what are some areas that I think that whether managers or business owners can show greater appreciation, is that just the same way, like you say, within those meetings, if someone is doing well, then it could be that they are at a particular level, but they are smart, for want of a better word, can see the potential for that person to get some more training. So there's the professional development that they can get to even increase, because there are people that I have worked with in the past who came in at one level, but they were so good at other things that they were given training, and they rose in the ranks to provide really valuable service and be a great contributor to the growth of the company.
And that will keep a staff person motivated and engaged, as opposed to if they feel stuck and they
Hmm.
feel that they can't grow and expand, that will keep someone demotivated. But if this fits very well with the coaching approach, if you see that someone is doing well in a certain area and they can take on more responsibility, then usually people like that. They want to grow, they want
Hmm.
to use their talents and contribute. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, I really enjoyed this discussion. Is there anything you'd like to just add before we wrap up today? Because in view of our time, but I think you, Rochelle, you've really shared some excellent points that will benefit managers, business owners, at whatever level. Once you have individuals who are reporting to you, and some of it may take a little while to adjust, because it's not not the way you're used to doing business, but the opportunities are there. And when you think of the benefits for having engaged staff, having people who want to stay, and we have countless examples that we can refer to of the benefits of engaged staff. We can read all about Zappos. We can read about Ritz-Carlton. We can read about all those companies that empower employees so that they feel an obligation to do their best because they feel they're valuable and they're valuable to the company, and this motivation comes from within so that they want to do everything in their power to make the company shine.
Well, I just want to say, Yvonne, thank you for the opportunity to chat on this topic. It's energizing to me to hear you and your approach and how it kind of fits with the approach I teach. And what I will say, just to close, is that if it seems overwhelming or like I get what they're talking about, but I don't really understand, it's our culture doesn't teach this very often in a lot of places, so that's okay to be new to this or to say I want to do this but I don't know quite how. And
Hmm.
I do have a free training that I share these concepts with anyone that wants them, so I will make that available as well, where um, I break down the uh, the theory and the research and put it into practical components for managers and supervisors.
Excellent. Well, with that, we thank you very much for watching. Everyone who's watching this, we certainly appreciate it. We had some technical difficulties, so we weren't able to go live, but we're very grateful that you have watched this. And we are both on LinkedIn and on other social media platforms. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out. And again, we thank you for your time watching this video. Have an amazing day.
Bye bye.
Bye, Michelle.